Halagay goadat. Takula obwini. I really want to thank the Karen people for being here. They fill a whole row and a half, and just my love goes out to you. This is the people group that I've given my life to, dedicated myself to help for the rest of my life, and so they really made an effort to come out tonight. And so I'm just so thankful and so happy to see you. And I'm going to talk about my little village, but before I do, I want to talk about what Jesus says over and over in the Bible, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. That's Jesus' voice. His voice to us is soft and sweet, but we are listening to other voices so that we are hard of hearing and we don't hear Jesus saying to us, follow me. There's a word that's going around in social media. If I can get this straight, people will put any topic in on YouTube and social media, and they're desperate to have followers. And they say, follow me, subscribe, subscribe. And many of it is good. It's about cooking or sewing or mechanics or any kind of building. Whatever you want to find, you'll find out there. And the people want you to follow them. And so the world gets so loud to us that we do not recognize that there's a still small voice asking you to come higher and to follow him on the narrow road, not on the wide road where we listen to all the voices of the world around us. And so he's calling us tonight to come up higher and to be aware of what he wants to say to you. And when he says, follow me, it doesn't always mean an easy road. It sometimes means heartache, grief, sorrow, and hardships. But it's a joyous walk when you're following Jesus, because you are in the center of his will. And there's no happier place to be than that. And he's leading you up to heaven. Even if it ends in death, I would much rather give my life and die when that brings God more glory than in my life. And so let's get our priorities straight. It's really of dire importance because Jesus is coming soon. And there's no time to just frivol our time away and enjoy our friends and our family. All of these things are good. But when the flood came, they were busy marrying and giving in marriage and doing this and that. And those are good things, we know, but they haven't put Jesus first. And they're not following Jesus. So it's a warning to us to follow Jesus. The offering most sweet and acceptable in God's sight is a heart made humble by self-denial, by lifting the cross and following Jesus. And so a lot of people think when they become a follower of Jesus, life is going to be sweet and easy and fun and they'll be prosperous and healthy. No, everybody, good and bad in this world, is going to suffer with hardships or sickness or pain and death. But it's when you're following Jesus, you've got this joy and peace, and you've got your best friend right there with you. Don't forget, Jesus is so close to you that if you did like that, you'd bump right into him. And he is your best friend, and he is calling you tonight to follow him. Now, I want to introduce my worker that works with me. This is Bledjaw, and he's a Karen young man. I don't really have time to tell you my whole beginning, but you can follow it. If you just put my name in on YouTube, you'll find videos and interviews and things, and maybe you can get to the very beginning of how I became a missionary. I'd love to share that with you, but time is of essence. Anyhow, Bledjaw has worked with me for the past 14 and a half years, and he has not been discouraged. He has not given up. He is loyal. He is dedicated, and whatever happens, good or bad, he's right there with me. And we are heart to heart working to save souls for heaven. And because we have worked together for so long that he's become my son, and his family is my family. These are my grandchildren now, as well as I have 2 boys in America and 2 grandchildren here. So this is his family. And when we first moved to my little village of Biota, I knew it was God's will. Nothing can discourage you if you know you're in the center of God's will. It's a wonderful thing. And so for the first 4 years, we lived in that house, that bamboo house. It was a rotten bamboo, and it was very, it smelled really bad. And the insects were in it, so dust would collect all over the place. But after 4 years, God gave me that. I wish I had time to tell you the miracle that house is, but God said, I will supply all your needs. And so he knew that we were treating a lot of sick people. I'm a nurse, and I run a clinic way out there in the jungle, and I can take care of people because it's too far for them to get to another clinic or to a hospital. So if you'd like to go with me, we will go inside. There's 2 doors in the front. The door on the right side goes into the living room and kitchen area. If you look to the right, 2 bedrooms. My door is the open door. And then right behind me is a door that leads right into the clinic. And this is the busiest room of the house because it's a 24/7 clinic. And we see many people. We don't have electricity or Wi-Fi or shops or anything. And so I write on cards every patient. There's also a card file behind me. So you can see we've seen a lot of patients. Actually, we've seen patients from about 120 different villages over that so far, and they come from all over. Sometimes they come and we say, it's a truckload. They've rented a truck or 2. And we say, why did you come here? Because you passed up 2 clinics and you could have gone to a hospital. And they say, well, we heard you get well when you come here. And so we say, it's not us, it's not me. It's because we pray to the God in heaven. You've got to know him. He's the one that brings health and healing. This is what the teeth look like when they chew a lot of betel nut. And this is the worst I've seen, of course. So they can get all shades of gray and black, and then they're like shaved right off. The next few pictures, I'm going to get the graphic pictures out of the way first, because in the clinic we have to take care of a lot of things. So if blood makes you feel bad, just don't look. Trust me, just don't look, because I pull teeth, and it's been a wonderful experience with pulling teeth. I never was going to start that because I can't, and I don't know, and I don't want to know. And somebody gave me a few instruments, and people come with toothache, and I go, no, I don't pull teeth. One man came, his toothache really bad, and so he went home, and he cut his tooth out with a machete. And he got an infection, and then he came back to me, and I thought, oh, I can do better than that. And so I read the book where there's no dentist, and I had some instruments and xylocaine, and I started pulling teeth. But since then, God sent me a dentist twice to visit me and teach me and give me all the instruments and more than I'll ever need. And he came twice. And so the teeth are coming out, and it's still not me, but I kneel and pray before each one, and God does the work. Now, the next picture is very gross because the people use machetes, and so they get cut. So quickly, I will show you a cut here, and the man stuffed it with tobacco, and he doesn't have anywhere to go because he doesn't have a tie card. So I cleaned it out, and of course, I do a lot of sutures because of these machetes, but his was very bad and very deep. And so I'm so happy I'm there to do that because he would never go to the doctor. He doesn't even have a Thai citizenship card. And so he would have just left that tobacco in there, and he would have been in a lot of trouble and maybe even lose his life. I'm just going to tell you a couple of experiences. I'm keeping it right in the last 2 years because if I go back too far, I'll be here all night, all day, all night, and all day. So this little girl, just March 20, I think I'm right, it was a Friday night. And we'd gone to bed, sound asleep, and 10:30, somebody's at the door. They don't knock, they cough, or they call, or they do something, and somebody's out there. So Bledjaw wakes up first, always. And he goes out, and I think, I can't wake up. And I'm like coming out, and my eyes are closing, and when I saw this little girl, her name is Awa. She's 3 years old. Awa in Karen means Eve. And she is not hardly breathing. She is in full anaphylactic shock. She has eaten the red ant eggs, which they collect from high in the trees in a basket, and they like to eat those. But she's highly allergic to it. She's been allergic before, but tonight, the second time, it's worse. And right now, my eyes fly open, my heart starts racing, and I fly into action as if I'd never had a wink of sleep before, and I am wide awake. Because this girl, if given 3 minutes, she will die. And so I grab the adrenaline. I pull up the right dose for her size and weight, and I get the breathing treatment out. I give the shot. I give her a breathing treatment because she is going to die. Her lungs are collapsing. No air is getting exchanged. Her lips and face is blue, and she's making these terrible little noises. But as soon as I give the adrenaline and start that breathing treatment, praying all the time, in less than 3 minutes, she's feeling much better. She's breathing, exchanging air freely. In fact, I can tell you the miracle of this experience, March 20, is she had 3 minutes, I think, and she would have died. And then after I treated her immediately, in less than 3 minutes, she became well. And so she is a miracle girl. And the next day in church, she sits beside me in church. If I weren't there, she would have died. And we're not there a lot of times because we take patients to the hospital. We go to the hospital and pick them up. We have to go here and there and many places. So God puts us where he wants us at the time that we need to be there. We never have to worry. When you're wholly dedicated to God, he puts you where you're most needed. And surely we don't have to be anxious for anything, but in everything with prayer and supplication, we talk to God, and he is our companion and friend. You never have to be lonely. You never have to really be stressed. But he teaches us many lessons and will show us many plague spots in our character too along the way. But I can just tell you that if I hadn't been called by God to work in that area of the jungle, I would not be the person that I am today. I would not know God and trust him and fully depend on him that like I do now, because I would have no reason to. In America, sad to say, it's luxury here. It's night and day over there. And here you've got running hot water, you've got blenders, you've got ovens, convection ovens, you've got dishwashers, and all of these things, and friends, and you've got your little routine that you go through every day. And that may be God's will for your life, but I'm encouraging you just now, really pray. Hold everything that you own in an open hand. And don't hold back 1/100% for yourself. Your plans for study, your plans for any future event, your friends, your family, your character, your emotions, everything, hold it out, give it to God. Why is this so hard to do? When God is the ruler of the universe, he owns the whole universe. He has every star of the multi-million, trillion, billion stars by name, and he knows the number of hairs in your head. And so I just beg of you, it's so easy to sing that song, I will follow thee, my Savior, wheresoever my lot may be. But some people say, no, don't take me in that mud. No, don't take me with the snakes. Okay, so my story, if I don't include the mud, I'm not telling you a thing about me, because there is a rainy season in Thailand, and in my jungle mountains, it rains more than anywhere else. And therefore, used to be 4 months of rain from June to September. Now it starts in May through November. We can't bring the truck back in till November. This year we had a shock. It started raining May 1. And we thought, oh, we got the truck, but surely it'll lighten up and we'll be able to get the truck out. And so we waited, and it kept raining. And finally there was a little lull in the rain, and we tried to get the truck out. That's a video. Can I play it? Thank you. And so this trip out, it didn't stop. It was raining. And this trip, we got stuck so many times. We just prayed, oh, will the angels please get us up this place? Oh, angel, please push us up this place. And Bledjaw's driving, and he is really driving up a sweat. We couldn't even take as many pictures. And so here's Bledjaw driving. And so the angels pushed us on. It's not a video game either, folks. That's the real thing. And so then we just leave the truck at Bledjaw's house near the city, and then we take the motorbike. You might wonder why he and I work in Biota and his family's here, but his wife is sick, and in the mountains the whole family can't come because it's very, very difficult in the rainy season. We just go on that motorbike. And also his children are in school. And he's very fortunate because isn't it right, Quran people, that the husband needs to go to the city to work to bring money, give money to the family, and sometimes they don't see their family for a year or two, right? And so Bledjaw's fortunate because we can sometimes at the school get a little bit of phone service. He can at least contact his wife, and if there's a problem at home, we can go. And so we're just very fortunate. But when we take that motorbike out, we've got to go in the rain, and we've got to go on these mountain roads. This is actually the last road coming down into our village, and usually at the top of it, I say, I'm getting off, let me off. That's too bad, and yet we've already committed ourselves. So we're going down, and he can't stop, and we're just going, and we're in one ditch, and then we go over to the other rut, and then we tumble over, and we look like this, the motorbike. But yeah, this is just a little bit of the pictures of the hard time we have and the struggle in the mud. But nothing shows the real thing unless you're there in person, because all the hills that are straight up and straight down, they look flat on a video or on the picture. And so it's really not easy at all. See this road? To the right is the deep, deep mud, and a motorbike can't make it. So they cut a little path through the left, and then they cut out 2 trees so that the handlebars could fit through. It's really cool.
You have to cut this tree a little bit. You have to trim it.
And so the longer it rains, the deeper the mud. Some places are slick and hard and flat, and that's just as bad because you can't control anything. But in the mud, sometimes you don't need brakes because your whole motorbike is just stuck up with this red, sticky clay, and you can't go anywhere like right there. This is our driveway. We can't even make it up the driveway. There is red mud. There's white mud and black mud and red mud, and the worst slippery is the red mud, and it's all over the place. But our driveway isn't even red mud, but we didn't make it up that one either. And then just before I came to America this year, we had to bring some stuff in to Biota and then make it back out. And coming in, we had another motorbike with 2 guys on it, and it was the only way we could get in.
The chest is like 2 feet.
So It took us over 2 hours to get into Biota just because of all that mud and all that pushing. That's just one of the scenes. But then it got dark, and then it started raining more, and even harder. It's very steep right here. Horrible. Anyway, you need nerves of steel, but some people enjoy it for some reason. This is water coming down from our driveway and joining the river. It's a small river in dry season. Now that bridge is about to break, and it was there year after year. That's the only way we can get the motorbike out. And so, but just last year, we got a new bridge. Dry season has its problem too. This is not my picture, but shows you the dust. Now, we have to talk about snakes a little bit too, because this green pit viper is the most frequent biter for the Karen people because they're working in the rice garden and it's very camouflaged in all the green. It can drop out of the bamboo. It can be on their feet. This poor lady got bitten 3 times. This snake will not kill a healthy adult, but it sure causes a load of pain and disfiguration and swelling. And 3 days in the hospital is enough to give the antivenom and they can return home. This lady got bitten by a green pit viper 3 times. She stepped on it and it bit her, and she thought it was the grass or a stick, and so she took another step forward. It bit her again, and then she tried to kill it and it bit her again. And so she's bitten 3 times. People are trying to put cilantro seeds on there. They have a lot of ideas. But she went to the hospital. She was in the hospital for almost 2.5 months with this, and they cut her open. Somehow, I guess they thought they had to let the poison out. She's cut up both sides of her calf, 2 times at the top of the foot, and both sides of her thigh, so that she has really, really been injured for a couple of years to come, even though she can walk now. But this is the worst I've seen. Here's a king cobra in the center of our village where the children play. They shot it. It's over 12 feet long. It's dead here. I don't know why I put that picture in there. Anyway, this picture is where I walk a lot of times, taking a shortcut home when Bloodjaw's going down those steep places. And I'm so thankful my angel is with me, because cobra's all through there. And when you're walking through that stuff, you wouldn't see the cobra. In fact, a couple of days later, my neighbor was walking through there and he got struck and bitten by a cobra. But he had his gardening bag, which is like a rice bag sewn, and his machete and tools in there. So when that cobra struck him, it hit his bag with the machete and saved his life. So I learned by that. I will not do that again. And this one is a yellow-banded crate, the white-banded crate, Malayan crate, and this is very poisonous. The 2-step snake, if you get bitten, you have time to take 2 steps and you die. And so Bloodjaw became face to face with one of these one day. He is cutting the long weeds from the PVC pipe that's draining water to our house because we got a problem with the pipes. And he's cutting the long weeds, and right there by his feet is, I didn't take that picture, that we stay away from them. It's right there by his feet, and he couldn't kill it because he didn't know where the head of the thing was. And elephants are around there so bad, so people are getting killed by the wild elephants. So the government had to put these signs up, beware of the wild elephant. We come across them sometime not for a while, and then all of a sudden you go around a blind corner and you're face to face with a wild elephant. And you will notice in some of the pictures the oil coming down the side of his face. That means the male is in heat and his testosterone level is 60 times higher than normal. And it says in encyclopedia they could kill the female elephant. They should be isolated. So they are. They're isolated with us in the jungle. And so many times we come across them. This one, we were surrounded. We had two behind us, and then we thought we were okay, but then we come across this one, and we back up and wait, but we walk ahead to see if he's gone. He's not gone, and here he is. Look at the oil. You see? He's using dental floss, I think. But anyway, it ended up that he saw us, and his ears came out, and he started toward us, and that's the first time I ever had to run on foot away from an elephant. And then we were kind of in trouble because there were two behind us. So it actually took us an hour to get away from that little group of elephants. This time we had two children in the car, 7 people, and we get an elephant in front of us, and the two men, my Bloodjaw and his father, went ahead because that elephant was walking away from us. And they were going to find out when it gets off the road, then I'll drive the truck fast and run and go pick them up. So he thought his father was going to be killed by the elephant, but they called me. We had cell service on the top of the mountain. They called me. Another time, we met an elephant face to face. We backed out and we waited a long time. We tried the second time. No, it's still there. And then we heard it trumpeting off to the left. And so we thought, we'll go. Well, when we got there, 2 people, a man and wife with a baby tied on her, was on top of that rock. And elephant had charged them. They had dropped their motorbike. They were coming the opposite direction when that elephant just charged them. And they ran without their shoes through the jungle. And just as that elephant got right on them, was going to kill them, it stopped. And you know, when you have Jesus in your heart and your presence is there, angels go to that person and go to the aid of those people. And so he put us right there in time to save the life of these people. Here comes the elephant. We're backing out with them in our car. And here's the lady. We drive her home, to her home, and then later the husband had to go and get his motorbike, which had not been flattened by the elephant, but it was still running. And so they even got their motorbike back. Appearances may seem forbidding, but in the darkest hour, there's light beyond. The strength of those who in faith, love, and serve God will be renewed day by day. I can be here to tell you in person, face to face, that is so true. Day by day, I feel so good. And God gives me so much strength and energy. It's only by the grace of God. But you know, people say to me many times, I do in FaithCamp, I talk, and people say, well, I could do that if it weren't for the snakes. Or I could do that if it weren't for the spiders or the elephant or something. No, we can't say that. We're telling God what we will and won't do. This is not following Jesus and giving him full reign of our heart. We're keeping something back, our safety. Did Jesus keep back his safety, or did he go to the cross? And did he suffer more than you and I ever will and die for us? And so this is something in Oswald Chambers' book that struck me. Profoundly speaking, we can never work for God. Jesus takes us over for his enterprises, his building schemes entirely, and no soul has any right to claim where he should be put. Some people say, I won't go to Mongolia, it's too cold, or I won't go to Thailand, it's too hot, or this or that. Or no, don't do that. Let God have full reign. He knows you. He knows the talent He's given you. He knows where you can be the most productive in saving souls for Him. And the only reason we're here on this earth is to save souls. And you, each one of us can only, there's people out there that only you can reach. And if you're not following Jesus, you don't reach them. People won't be in heaven, and people are dying without Jesus. I want you to meet Nobet. Nobet is 30 years old. After rainy season, we see the catastrophes that have happened to some of these poor people after rainy season. There is 20 kilometers of a narrow concrete road that goes up to a big pagoda at the top of the mountain, and then there's 7 kilometers of a shortcut that goes down to Biota, my village. And if it's wet, you don't go that way because you will die. It's suicide. So you have to go 2 hours around to get there. Anyway, on the concrete road, it's also very dangerous because that red mud covers the concrete and it's more slippery than you can imagine. Plus, trucks, sometimes the drivers aren't really paying attention. If part of the wheel goes onto the side, down the cliff you go. And always there's a bank on one side and a cliff on the other side. And so her truck, there were 6 people in her truck, and it fell off the cliff over 100 meters off the cliff. And nobody died, which was a miracle. But she had broken over 12 bones in her body. And I had been called to check her out. She couldn't even sit up because her husband had to lift her up. And this was 1 month after she got out of the hospital, for 2 months in the hospital. And she's been cut up and surgery all over. She can't move. And yet her husband sits her up, and look at the smile that she has on her face. She's just adorable. But she shows me her places. And she said to me, Thramu, that's female teacher, will I ever walk again? I said, yes. And she said, well, how long? I said, 2 months. I didn't know. Somehow it came out of my mouth. And so we took her on as our patient, and we took her to rehab. We gave her a lot of natural remedies and tried to help her as much as we could. But these villages are far spread, so we can't really be with everybody every day. But this is her husband and little girl that also was in that truck. The little girl had a broken clavicle, and somehow it did not heal properly at all. And then this is how they got her out of the house and in our truck. She's the most cheerful, beautiful smile, and it's so good to work with her. And you know, when we see these patients, it's our chance to tell them about Jesus and pray for them. And so they get introduced to the God of the universe, the only one that can heal us. And this is the pagoda. She lives beyond that pagoda. Here's where her truck went off the road and down. I'll try to show you. I tried to zoom in there because there's some truck parts down there, but you can't really see. So here's the problem with the concrete road. It drops off on either side of the concrete road. So with all the mud and rain, that soil gets loose and breaks away from underneath the concrete, so the concrete road breaks. And so government is trying to fix it. But to show how dangerous this road is to work on, a big concrete truck came up to help do the concrete, and it fell off, and the man died. And then another blue truck that's a flatbed truck carrying a load of cement and sand and gravel, it also went off in another place, and that man died. So many times, and even in the hot weather, your truck might overheat and the brakes might burn up. And many times, therefore, you can't put the brakes on, and you go out of control and go over the cliff. Well, our little friend, here's that picture, our little friend Nobet, it's been quite a few months now, and one day we decided we want to go visit Blee. Now, I'll tell you about Blee later in the program. And so it's in a Muduki village. It's quite a ways away. We took the motorbike and we went to see Blee. Well, he was not home, and they said he's up at the Pagoda village, and he's helping to build a house there. He's kind of like a builder. And so we thought, well, we should go up there because we could see Norbert and Blee in that village. So we're on the motorbike, and we just take the motorbike on this long road around through the jungle to Kudumai village by the big pagoda. Well, we call it the elephant playground because the elephants like the trees there, and that's where they like to hang out. So as we're going along on the bike, I'm on the back, and I'm looking to the left, I'm looking to the right. We go around the corner, we're looking, and we're watching the elephant dung. It's dry, it's old, and we've gone quite a ways when we see some fresh elephant dung. And we both look at it, and I say, well, that could have happened this morning. And just then we looked up. Here is a huge wild elephant right off the path in front of us. Not 8 feet away. It's closer than me and the piano. It's not more than 8 feet away. And we didn't have time to stop the motorbike, and I'd have to jump off, and he'd flip the motorbike around, and I'd jump back on. We don't have time to do that. And so Bledjaw just changed the gears, and he just gunned it. I'm standing up on the footrest, and I'm hanging on to Bledjaw's shoulders. And here, I'm looking straight into that elephant's trunk, and I see his eyes. And with one swipe, he could just hit us with his trunk, and we'd be dead easily, because he's right there. And we're flying, and I'm hanging on, and I'm looking, and I'm watching this mammoth creature following us. I'm saying, he's coming, go, go, go. And I'm watching, and for a while there, it looked really close, but thank goodness the path wasn't too rough in front, and we got away, and that elephant stopped and turned to the side. But that was the closest call that we've had. And somebody said to me, once we got to the village, we told about it and everything, and they looked at me and they said, can you climb a tree? And I said, well, not now. But I think if I were being chased. This is a house where a little lady lives. Usually the grandmas are just loved by the family, and the grandchildren are all around them. But this lady is neglected, and we're told that she's got a burn. So we went to her house in the next village, and we discovered she doesn't have just a simple burn from last week. What happened is she's got a little dementia, not fully, but she's cold at night, and she wants to light a fire, but she can't really do it, and she catches herself on fire. She had just done that the night before, and some person saw the fire and came and put it out, but left her. She is laying in this house in her own excrement, in all the wet and filth and stench, and she is burned. And so here is a video. Not real pleasant. And I am determined she's not going to die from burns. She can die from old age, but I'm going to take care of her. And so we clean and we work, and finally a family member comes and helps. She needs a new skirt. She is just a mess. And I don't have enough Silverdene ointment to treat her because the burns are so extensive. So we travel all the way to Mesat, like 3.5 hours one way. We buy more gauze, and we buy more Silverdene ointment and diapers to try to keep it on, do everything we can. And this little lady, I think the old people, we really need to work for the old people. They don't have long to live, and they don't know God. And I'm just thrilled to see that we prayed with her. It might mean the difference for eternal life for this little lady. And even though she got badly burned, she lived quite a while afterwards. She didn't die from the burns, but she did die. But she has been introduced to Jesus. And if he can save the thief on the cross right next to Jesus, God can save this lady. A soul is so valuable. Do we want to walk in the footsteps of Jesus? We shall find the footprints of Jesus by the sickbed, by the side of suffering humanity, in the hovels of poverty-stricken and distressed. We may walk in these footsteps, we may walk in these footsteps and Can you read it for me? Comforting the suffering, speaking words of hope and comfort to the despondent, doing as Jesus did when he was upon the earth. We shall walk in his blessed steps. Jesus said, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross and follow me. She died. This is her funeral. The poverty of the people to whom we are sent is not to prevent us from working for them. Christ came to this earth to walk and work among the poor and suffering. They received the greatest share of his attention. And today, in the person of his children, he visits the poor and needy, relieving woe and alleviating suffering. Somehow the poor, I've been in more houses, and I can walk through any village. I can see old people and children that would have been dead if God hadn't sent me there and if I hadn't followed Jesus to go there. To follow Jesus requires wholehearted conversion at the start and repetition of this conversion every day. It's not one day following Jesus, always following Jesus. No, it's every day, because the devil will attack you time after time. Now we're going to a village, and this village, there's a lot going on in this village. And so before it started raining, we could take the shortcut. And so we're not there yet. It takes nerves of steel. I'm on the back with my little phone taking. It's so narrow. One wrong move and down you go. There's 3 people in this village, but I'm just going to tell you about one. That's enough. Those who walk in the narrow way are following in the footprints of Jesus. The light from heaven illuminates their path. And there's nothing too hard. When Jesus has put you there, he stays right beside you and helps you, gives you wisdom, and gives you all the help you need. So I want you to meet Charlie. Charlie is like in his 50s, and he has got terrible pain and infection, and I don't know what else, right here in the upper left chest. And as we look at him, we find out what happened to him. He's having so much pain for 3 weeks that he wants to die. So what people do is they hang themselves on a tree. And he tried to hang himself on a tree, but his 17-year-old son found him miraculously and saved his life. Do you see the mark on his neck? Well, Charlie, I had some charcoal and I put a poultice there, and he's in so much pain that he won't come to us to the doctor. And it's starting to be rainy season, and he's depending on the devil ceremony to save him. And so he calls the devil master, and they do a devil ceremony and a sacrifice, and they put something on his head here and something here. He's got to have this fire, and the devil master is there right then doing whatever kind of devil prayer that he wants to do. And Bledja said to me, don't pray out loud. Don't pray, because if God answers a prayer and heals him, they'll give the they'll say that the devil did it. And so, but we really prayed for this man, and as much as possible we went back to visit this man. But in the rain, he wouldn't go on the motorbike, and we could no longer take the truck. And so he just got worse and worse, and his face is hopeless. And we could never really talk to him much because that devil master was there all the time. One day we took a trip with the bag of medicine because we had a sunny day. And so we decided we would go and see if we could, we'll treat all the sick, and then we'll see what we can do for Charlie. Well, that day he was willing to go. But if you can see his face, look at the hopeless, horrible look on his face. And Bledjaw said, I will take him up to the big pagoda. He can spend the night at the Forest Service house. I will walk back to my village. And then he will drive the motorbike all the way back. This is a long way, guys. All the way back to Biota. And then in the morning, we'll drive the motorbike out all the way to where we have our truck parked. And then he's already on the concrete part, and we'll drive the truck up to him, and then we can get him to the hospital. This is what we do. About 1/3 of our time is spent traveling, motorbike, walking, or truck. So anyway, he's now at that Forest Service house. We do all this. We get the truck. We take him to the hospital. All the needy who come to our notice are to be helped. If we neglect this work, God will hold us accountable. It's true. And some people say, well, it's overwhelming. Everybody needs help. Well, just do the first thing first and let God sort it out. Just be willing. Just do it. Don't worry about what they look like, what they smell like, or what they've been doing, or how deep they are into Satan and sin. Just do it. Just start. And God can save the worst sinner by the power of his grace. And so we took him to the hospital. They did an I&D, an incision and drainage, and got other stuff out and did some tests. And he needs to come every day. Well, I have to come to America, but I've got 3 days. So we left him there. We gave him some money. And we said, you need to obey us. We'll give you this money. No opium, no alcohol, no cigarettes, and no betel nut. And for some reason, he obeyed us. And he stayed there for 3 days. We were able to go back and check him in 3 days to see how he's doing. Does he not look better? No drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. And he's now looking us in the eye, whereas he wouldn't look at us before. And then we prayed. And so this is what keeps us going. God can save these people. God reaches hearts through the relief of physical suffering. A seed of truth is dropped into the mind. It's watered by God. Much patience may be required before this seed shows signs of life, but at last it springs up and bears fruit unto eternal life. What's the worth of a soul? What is the worth of a soul? Can you read it? I can't. Okay. We should feel the responsibility that rests upon us as Christians and labor as though we realize the value of souls, remembering that one soul saved in the kingdom of God is worth over 10,000 worlds like ours. When we have this spirit, we can more readily convince others that we have the truth. But so long as indifference is manifested, we cannot expect to exert a decided influence in drawing others to Christ. And so we keep working. And so we keep preaching. Week after week, we preach to these people. And when we first started in that village, 4 people would come to church. Now 65, around more or less 65 people come to our church. And when I get up there to talk to them, I have an interpreter, of course, Bledjaw. And as I get up there, it's my favorite time of the whole week because I get to look into the faces of these people. And look what I'm looking at. Such beautiful people. That's the women's side. The men's side don't look so excited about everything. The hands of ordination may not have been played upon you, but you are nonetheless God's messengers. If you have tasted that the Lord is gracious, if you know his saving power, you can no more keep from telling this to somebody else than you can help the wind from blowing. You can't keep the wind from blowing, can you? I have 2 little experiences that show me that my people, out of the 65 people come into our church, people are having evidences and showing us that they really are forming a relationship with Jesus. For me, it's so exciting because it's so slow. My people mostly cannot read or write. And so you have to go over and over. This couple was going home from evangelism 2 years ago. And it was dark because we have a meeting at night. And as they were going home, the motorbike suddenly, before the steep hill, stopped and got stuck, and it wouldn't move. And so they did nothing wrong with it, and they couldn't push it. They couldn't budge it. And so the man says to his wife, that's Satan. And he said, pray. And so she prayed, and the motorbike just loosened up, and up it went. And then another time, these kind of things are like earth's moving to me. because out there it's slow, you know. And this lady told me that last rainy season they came in the truck and they had okay, but they got close to Biota and somewhere in a flat place they got stuck. And oh, they were frustrated, it wouldn't go. And suddenly she remembered, I can pray. And so she prayed and the truck just drove right out. These are my people in the jungle. If the servants of God will walk with him in faith, he will give power to their message. They will be enabled so to present his love and the danger of rejecting the grace of God that men will be constrained to accept the gospel. Christ will perform wonderful miracles if men will but do their God-given part. It's true. So we're trying to do our best for God, and he's doing everything, of course. We're just like humble. And so we're tearing down our old house that we started, that we lived 4 years in, and we're in a building project. We are going to build two things, actually. We're going to build a big, new, beautiful church because our church is sagging and the posts are rotting, and it's not big enough. And we're also going to build a detox center to help the people with their opium, alcohol, smoking, betel nut. This is happening at my house, guys, right now. And maybe the rainy season settled it. We want to start right away because our dry season does not last very long. And that's not our only building project. This is Blee, I got to tell you. He's in his 70s. He has been the Baptist leader for years because Baptists come through and they just find somebody that can read a little bit, put them in charge, and off they go. And so this man, he's trying to read his Bible, read a little bit. And as he read, he had questions, and somebody came and got us, and so we could answer the questions. We went to him. He said, well, I found out that the seventh day is the day I need to worship God, and I better do it because I'm getting old. I need to do it before I die. And he had already stopped eating unclean food, and he was still smoking, but quickly after we visited him, he quit smoking too. He does everything that he knows to do for God. He's a builder, and so he built this little church for the Baptists, but then he realized I paid for everything but the roof, and the Baptist people paid for the roof, and so he paid them because he didn't want the Baptists to own any part of his church. It's now Seventh-day Adventist Church. But this church is up on a hill, and you can see how steep it is up to that church. And this man is getting weaker. He's in his 70s and have a hard time getting up there. Plus the wild elephants come to his village, and they are destroying things all around the village. And he wants to build another church. His posts are rotting also, and that church is kind of not staying straight. So he already leveled a field right next to his house. He leveled it, and he asked us, will we please build him a church? And so we said, we surely will. We will build you a good concrete church that elephants or time will not destroy till Jesus comes. And so that's in a village way out there. We've got to also buy a work truck that we can haul the supplies because our truck is a 4-door truck with a short bed, and it's more like an ambulance. But we need to haul the heavy stuff. So now that you've met Blee, you can pray for him. He is like the leader of his family. All the family got baptized, but his daughters are not really with it like he is, and he really cries, and his wife cry because their children aren't on fire for God like they are, doing everything. So he asks for prayer for his family because after Blee dies, that influence is gone from their house. And I'm almost finished. This is Dikala is 9 years old, and that's his house. He is in Muduki village, okay? The very same village that Blee is in. And we heard that that boy's not quite right. Something happened to him. So we went there to visit him. And in that house, we met him around the back. And here he is with his mother. And this boy is a very mischievous little boy. And what he did is he went to the devil idols in the middle of the village and he peed on them. And then he messed with the devil trinkets over here. And immediately he became dumb. He could not speak. And he lost his mind. And he's acting like an infant. He's screaming and crying and won't eat. It's all falling out of his mouth. And he is a disaster. And he can't go to school. His whole life just stopped. And so we tell the mother that there's two gods that we can worship. One is the devil, that you've got those devil strings around his neck, and you can see them here, and around his wrist and ankles. And the people that worship the devil, that keeps them, they think, from harm and danger, from sickness, and helps them to prosper, them and their children. And so this lady says she's a Christian, but she knows nothing about God. And so we talked with her about you can't worship our God in heaven and the devil at the same time. And these things are tying you to the devil. And so would you like to take them off? We're just asking you if you want to worship the God that you say you're a Christian, then those don't have a place there. Another time we visited, the strings are still there. He's worse than before. He's peeing and pooing all over himself and the house. And we give a little worship about Jesus that came down from the Mount of Transfiguration. And the Father said, if you can do anything. Well, he didn't believe, and we're asking her to believe, because then when he did, God rebuked the devil and took the demons out of that boy. And he's the same God now, can do for your son. And so later, we can't be there every day. Later, we came back, and this is what we saw. He's playing football with the boys. He is like a whole new person. Sparkle in his eyes, active, well, devil strings gone. And so we visited the mother, and we said, tell us about it. You cut the strings off? She said, yeah. And every day he got better. In about 3 days, he was well. And so this is the God of heaven. This is the village that we're going to build a church in, and God has already shown himself more powerful than the devil. Christ feels the woes of every sufferer. When evil spirits rend the human frame, Christ feels the curses. When fever is burning up the life current, he feels the agony, and he is just as willing to heal the sick now as when he was personally on earth. Christ's servants are his representatives, the channels of his working. He desires through them to exercise his healing power. You can have that power. And so in closing, I want to tell you about my very last evangelism. Since 2017, we've had an evangelist or preacher come to our village every year except 1 year with COVID and do evangelism, which we call evangelism. But we have more than just Bledjaw and I that are on fire for God to show the people that more people obey God and love God and are getting ready for heaven, and to encourage them. And so this last year, I met, when we were doing FaithCamp in North Carolina, we met Pastor Mark Kent and his wife Angela, and they felt God calling them to come. And I'm also throwing this out for this year, because end of November, beginning of December, if somebody has a burden like the pastor or anybody, to come, you're more than welcome. We don't have one yet. But anyway, God always provides. It's got to be God's will. And it was for them, and they're very musical. And so we greeted them at the airport, and here they are. Listen, I even had just bought a full-size piano for Bledjaw's boy to learn piano. So we brought it to the church.
Is a place of release, near to the heart of God, a place where all is joy and peace.
And that's in my church, in my little church in the jungle. The beautiful music. I could tell you more stories, so many more, but I will end here. And I want to tell you that this last evangelism, we've had more people crowd into our church than ever before. We had over 120 people come. So that when we did a baptism, there were 10 people, but only 2 went to the front, and the rest were too shy to work their way through all those people to get baptized. So next time, we will have more people ready to be baptized. We're not going by numbers. We're not going by baptism. We just want the people ready for Jesus to come. And when you give your life to God, he'll put you where you need to be. And you will be filled with more joy. And just read this. Here's our baptism. I think overall, I haven't counted, but we've had more than 50 people baptized. Who can tell what will be the result of a self-denying, cross-bearing life? Eternity will reveal the result of following Jesus, and all will be amazed at the fruit that will be made manifest. Do you want to be amazed at the fruit that Jesus can produce through you and through your life? I challenge you for that tonight.